I'm Gary Morgan of the Borough of Google Blogger at arclight.blogspot.com. I'm with Matthew Hodges, Chairman of the Jackson County Commission, and this is a video interview with Mr. Hodges about his thoughts on challenges, accomplishments while he's been in office, and questions about the $225,000 transfer of TVA in lieu of taxes from the discretionary fund to the Jackson County Legislative Delegation Building Fund. There are 8 questions in this interview which were provided to Mr. Hodges yesterday afternoon, and thanks a bunch for this interview. I appreciate you doing this. And Mr. Hodges, how long have you been in office now as Commission Chairman?
I've been in office for about 1.5 years now.
Okay. What do you think is the biggest challenge facing the Jackson County Commission at this point?
I think our financial situation is obviously the biggest challenge we have to face with the budget. We passed a budget that was not balanced this year, and that's something that we should not be doing, but wanted to be real with the numbers. So getting that to a balanced budget has been the most difficult task, and will be until we get that completed and finalized.
Thank you. What do you think are your biggest accomplishments since being elected as Commission Chairman?
I think we've opened up kind of information, hopefully, to the public a lot more. We've made it clear on a lot of the issues we've been doing. We've wanted to get that information to the people, and through our community meetings, we've done a lot of that, I think, giving folks the opportunity by coming to the different communities in the county. And then, of course, back to the budget thing, the fact that we have a much better idea now, 1.5 years later, of where we're at financially. That's going to help prep us for the future. So that may be the biggest thing that we've been able to do. Unfortunately, it's not something that you may see affect folks so much right now, but had we not addressed that issue, you would have seen the negative effects down the road.
Well, I'm sure the y'all's going into the different communities in the county, that's a really big improvement. And it's I've really heard nothing but positive comments about it from this commission. So, it particularly going out into the communities, I think that's real important. That has not been done before. But let's discuss the fund transfer of the $225,000 from the TVA in lieu of tax discretionary fund to the legislative delegation office account, if we can. The vote to transfer the $225,000 of the TVA in lieu of tax from the discretionary fund to the legislative delegation's office account was 4 votes for the transfer, 2 votes against the transfer. And of course, all members of the legislative delegation and you voted for the fund transfer, and Mr. Crawford and Mr. Ledwell, who's also on the discretionary fund, voted no. Why did you vote for that transfer of the funds?
Going back to when I was put on the board, when I first came into office, the law took place, I think, the December after I took office in November. So I was immediately placed on that board before even the other commissioners were placed on that board. During that time, I saw kind of the ins and outs of the building situation, but even with that, I wasn't involved in the process. The decision was something that was being made by the legislatures themselves. As we got this new committee formed and saw I guess that involvement in the decision coming to the committee, there were 2 key things that stood in my mind. One was that the funds that pay for this should be coming from the legislative office. It should be coming from the legislature's office, working fund, the one that they use to pay their staff and things like that. That's what they're paying the rent from, and that's how they should be handling the building situation. So that's why I think the proposal to do the $225,000 and give that to the legislature out of their operating account, and it is more of a loan. The goal is that that $2,000 a month or $1,900 a month that's being paid right now for rent will begin to be paid now back into the emergency fund and pay that amount back. So it was more of a loan to that fund. I felt it was, again, the decision of those legislatures, since it was being paid out of that, and that's why I supported pushing those funds over to that with the expectation that that's going to be paid back from the office account.
Gotcha. Do you have any prior knowledge of how that $225,000 is going to be spent?
I knew that it would go, or I suspected it would go to one of 3 options. That decision, of course, obviously wasn't mine, and I didn't know the minds of the representatives that were going to, as they made that decision. But it was my understanding when we made that move that it would go into one of three options, which would be to remodel the building on the north side of the square, to purchase and do any necessary renovation to the building that they're in at the time, or to make the necessary remodels to City Hall and then move into that location. So those were the three options on the table when we voted, and those were the ones that I understood one of those would probably be the one that was taken.
Thanks. And there's been some rumors out there. I've heard some of these rumors, and we've talked about it a little bit. Is there any truth that you knew about where the $225,000 was going to be utilized to purchase the current building that the delegation uses now instead of remodeling the previous purchase building? Do you know anything about that?
I had no idea that that was going to be the decision that was made. As I said, I knew it was one of the three options. I actually did not know that the decision to purchase that building had been made until after it had been made. I got a call from the representatives at the delegation office saying that they had a press release that was going out, and that they wanted me to be aware of that, and that I asked them what was the final decision, and they said they had actually already signed the paperwork. So I didn't know anything until the paperwork was signed on the final decision.
Did any member of the current legislative delegation or private party suggest to you that it would be beneficial to you personally to support the transfer of that $225,000?
No, any talk that I had with the senator beforehand about the transfer of that $225,000, it was to pursue any of those options, and again that it would be paid back.
Thanks. Do you have anything else you want to add to this?
No, I know it's been a controversial, and as far as my decision to move that money over there, it will be paid back or should be paid back, and that's one thing that we'll keep an eye on, paid back to the emergency fund. So I see it, I do see where costs are being saved. Whichever option they went with, there may be some controversy on which option they went with, but they're not paying rent anymore, so that's down the road. That's going to save some dollars. And of course, if it's determined that someday they can come to the courthouse, they've got an asset that they can sell and recoup some of those funds.
Thank you, Mr. Hodges. I appreciate the time that you've taken for this interview.
All right,
and we'll get this up pretty quick.